Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to the Hearts Academy Day 2023. The theme of this year's event will be Riding the Wave with Value Delivery and AI. We wanted to continue the same theme as last year, but with a little bit of twist. Value delivery stands as the foundation of success in the dynamic and the competitive business world. It captures the idea of creating long lasting connections with customers, encouraging loyalty, and promoting long term growth. Value delivery involves having the ability to satisfy customer needs in ways that go above and beyond their expectations. It also extends beyond the simple exchange of goods or services. Finally, with the help of AI, we can enhance and add value to the services by finding the most innovative approaches. So, for this year's Hearts Academy Day, we thought of looking at our next wave, which is value delivery and AI. With that, I would like to give you a small introduction on what is Hearts Academy is. The main purpose of Hearts Academy is to help us improve our knowledge and skills. We have a wide variety of professionals here with us, and our aim is to help each of them improvising their skills and soft skills and technical skills. Let us welcome our panel of speakers who has dedicated their valuable time to be here with us. We are so excited to be part of your sessions. I would like to welcome Michael Power, Director and Executive Consultant, Jeevan Gnanam, co-founder of Spectrify AI, co-founder of Hatch, Janani Liyanage, Agile Leadership Coach, founder Agile Tune-Up, and co-founder Agile Fellowship Sri Lanka. Kocha Regional Scrum Gathering, Sri Lanka 2022. Niranjan De Silva, business consultant, coach, and trainer. Isaac Maxwell, accountant and director of BISTEC MH. Simon Borden, marketing business coach and advisor. Next, let me take you guys through our agenda for today. We will be starting our Hearts Academy Day by the keynote speech done by Michael Power. Secondly, it will be a quiz session where we'll be having a little bit of fun while testing your value delivery and AI knowledge. Next, it will be the main session done by Jeevan Gnanam. And lastly, there will be 4 parallel track sessions. As you all are aware, you have been assigned to these 4 parallel track sessions in accordance with the choice you chose during the registration process. Once the parallel sessions are over, please join back to the main session. So, with that, are you ready to ride the next wave? Let's start our Hearts Academy Day 2023. I would like to welcome Michael Power, Director and Executive Consultant with 25 plus years of senior management in ASX company, Cisco, and 40 plus years working in many diverse roles. Michael brings a distinctive perspective to contribution where he provides business leaders, including coaching and mentoring. Not to forget, he's also an amazing guitarist and truly enjoys music. He will be doing the keynote for today with the topic of deriving business value from AI. Where do I begin? Michael, over to you.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you very much. And welcome everybody to today's session. I'm hoping that you're going to have an enjoyable afternoon, evening, depending on wherever you are. And I'm just excited that today we're welcoming everybody to the BISTEC Hearts Academy Conference for 2023. As Anthony said, I'm the Director and Executive Consultant with BISTEC Global Services, and I'm very pleased to be here today to kick this off. I'll give you a word of warning. This presentation I'm going to give will be probably not the flashy, sexy AI you may expect, because underneath the covers there's a lot of quite boring stuff. So it's a fairly much a pragmatic approach to how and what we need to do to enable AI within our businesses. Again, I'm quite honoured to be here to commence the event and get you warmed up, because we've got some wonderful speakers who we've invited to share their amazing knowledge with you today. With that, we will get started. So, deriving business value from artificial intelligence can be a transformative journey that enables companies to enhance operations, improve customer experiences, and drive innovation. That's a very bold statement. And do I just adopt AI technologies and the magic happens right before my eyes? I don't think so. Today, I'm going to split this presentation in two sections. Firstly, the why, the how, and the what, and then where do I begin? Simon Sinek famously created the golden circle for helping businesses understand their business value proposition. And I'm going to use part of that today as to go through this process. And we'll start with the center of the circle. Why? What is your purpose for being a business? What is your motivation to succeed? What do you believe as a business can be achieved? And what part of AI can play in delivering the why of your business, that essence of who this business is, your business? And the how, what are the processes and actions that we're going to realise your why? So how do you use AI to enable your core business, what you strive to believe and put into the market? Do our business strengths and values differentiate ourselves from our competition? And how do we communicate this to our staff, our stakeholders, and our clients? And finally, the what. What is the result of the why and how steps that we've undertaken to deliver this what? What services will be now delivering that are shaped by and utilise AI that enhance our business? Have we now enhanced our services and seeing greater market share, better profitability, increased efficiencies and effectiveness? They're the things that AI brings, and they're the things we want to see happen. So the why. From an AI perspective, Gartner defines an artificial intelligence as applying advanced analytics, logic-based techniques, including machine learning to interpret events, support, automate decisions, take actions. Sounds great. This definition is actually consistent with the current emerging state of AI technologies and capabilities. And it acknowledges that AI now generally involves the analysis of combining both probability and logic to assign a value to some uncertainty. We're thinking about the future. There's been lots of surveys conducted over the last several years around AI and predictions of what it can and can't do or will and won't bring to business and to life in general. There was an Accenture survey in 2021 that stated that businesses who actually discussed AI on their earnings calls had a 40% more likely to see their share price actually increase, which is quite significant. Their most recent research revealed that only 12% of actual firms have advanced their AI maturity enough to actually achieve that superior growth and business transformation. So that's quite surprising. We've got a lot of hype about AI, but the actual reality is some of those high achievers are not actually achieving, or sorry, the percentage of those achievers is not high. However, those that are in that high achiever grade, they can attribute nearly 30% of their total revenue to AI on average, and that's pretty amazing. And even in pre-pandemic times in 2019, some of them enjoyed anything up to 50% greater revenue on their growth compared to their peers. And they also outperformed in customer experience and sustainability. And to me, that's a key one there. Your customer and the experience that they're having and sustainability is key. One of the core functions of AI is to provide intuitive insights into data, but the integrity of your data is absolutely critical. It must be clearly defined, controlled, and be integral with the way your business, excuse me, and the key strategic items within your business. So Accenture's research found that AI maturity comes down to mastering a set of key capabilities in the right combinations, not only in data and AI, but also in organisational strategy, talent, and the culture that you foster with inside your business. So some of those other things around the organization includes foundational AI capabilities like cloud platforms, tools, data platforms, the architecture, and not least the governance. They're all required to keep pace with the changes in the market and also your competitors. It also includes the differentiations between your AI capabilities. You must have an AI strategy and you must have executive level sponsorship, and combined with that correct culture of innovation that can set companies apart. As you can see from this graph, there is evidence that indicates that AI transformation will occur more quickly than what we experienced with the digital transformation in the early 2010s. And I would actually suggest that the rapid rate of AI technologies and adoption will make that speed even quicker. So generative AI. If we come back to the Gartner description and definition of AI, applying advanced analysis and logic-based techniques, including machine learning, interpret events, support, etc., we've now had this explosion of things like ChatGPT in 2023. And Gartner and many others are now using this term generative AI. And what is that definition? So generative AI can learn from existing artifacts, generate new realistic things that reflect the characteristics of the training of the data, but don't repeat it. It can produce a variety of novel content such as images, video, music, speech, text, software, code, and product designs. If anybody's played with ChatGPT or the other things, they will see that these features are quite unique. One of the things that I found myself from using it, however, is that it can be pretty much repeat the same answers over and over, depending on the topic. And if you try to drill through ChatGPT with something around a governance outline for different products and sets, it'll basically give you the same answers. Now, that's not to say it's wrong. There is certainly a subset of all good governance that is across any sort of product set that you have, but it's interesting to watch it. So the benefits of generative AI include faster product development, enhanced customer experience, and improved employee productivity. But the specifics really depend on the use case. And that's a key point to identify what are the use cases that will be enhanced by AI in your business that is going to change your business, that is going to enhance your business, that is going to create value. So generative AI also creates artifacts that at times can be inaccurate or biased, making human validation essential and potentially limiting to how much time it can actually save. It's like anything, and we've seen that in the past with technologies. All technologies can be used for good, but they can also be exploited for the opposite of that. So there's that word of warning with new inventions, innovations. There's always a counter considerations. There's fears, there's criminal elements, and from that ethical point of view, that must be considered. And if you look at this chart, you can see that the same tools and technologies being used from both the negative side and the positive side. And these are the things we must consider when we're working with these technologies, and hence why we must make sure that when we explore and start our journey on using AI within our business, that we're very careful, we're very selective, and we're very engaged with what we do. So the why of using AI at the basic level can be used as a key driver for the profitability of your business, increase revenue, increase market share. But you've got to take people on a journey to make that a success. I just want to now play a quick video which gives you a good example of using generative AI.
Have you recently been awestruck by artistic pieces that are AI generated? Are you curious about how artificial intelligence algorithms can create such stunning and innovative artworks in just a few seconds? The answer to this phenomenon lies in generative AI. So, what exactly is generative AI? Generative AI refers to a branch of artificial intelligence technology that can generate new and original content, like images, text, music, or even videos, based on patterns and examples it has learned from. One popular type of generative AI model is known as GANs, which stands for Generative Adversarial Networks. GANs consist of two essential components, a generator and a discriminator. Think of the generator as an artist trying to make a picture of Albert Einstein. It looks at a lot of pictures of Einstein and tries to copy the patterns it sees to create a new image. The discriminator is like a critic who judges whether the generated image looks real or not. The generator and discriminator work together in a game. The generator wants to make images that fool the discriminator into thinking they are real, while the discriminator becomes better at telling the difference between real images and the ones generated by the generator. Through this back and forth process, the generator keeps improving its ability to create realistic images of Einstein until it gets really good at it. In the end, you get a generated picture that looks like Albert Einstein, based on what the generative AI model has learned from studying lots of Einstein pictures. With the right prompts and inputs, the image you are currently seeing is an AI-generated depiction of Albert Einstein. By providing specific instructions or prompts to the generative AI model, such as requesting an image of Albert Einstein with a contemplative expression or in a particular setting, the model can produce a unique interpretation based on what it has learned from the training data. Einstein once said, "Logic will get you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere." Thanks to generative AI, our imagination can now be more visual than ever before. With endless possibilities in generating stunning artworks, crafting imaginative stories, composing original music, and producing realistic videos, it is crucial to use generative AI ethically. Let's embrace this tool responsibly, preserving the authenticity of human creativity while exploring the remarkable potential it offers. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel to stay updated with the latest advancements in artificial intelligence.
So sorry about the audio when we first started. Apologies for that. Typical technology when you're doing a presentation. So I hope that just gave you a bit of an insight around, the capabilities there, and you can see how easily and how powerful the generative AI can be. So now let's move on to the how. So how do you use AI to enable your core business of why? And how do you leverage the AI technologies to create the value that the world predicts will happen? And do our business strengths and values differentiate ourselves from the competition? And how do we communicate this with our staff, our stakeholders, and all our clients? We need to take a strategic approach. And that strategic approach, we must endorse and enable AI in the business from the board level down. So it needs to be fully strategic at that level. The executive ownership and leadership is required. These are the people who must drive the AI initiatives. They must be seen to be at the front of the force of the AI initiatives that we undertake in our business. And you'll keep hearing me talk about data throughout this presentation. The strategy for the data needs to be enabled. It needs to be written. It needs to be communicated. We need to prioritize our data quality and availability. We need to invest in data collection, storage, and management practices to ensure a solid foundation for AI initiatives. Business processes. The amount of businesses that I have worked in and helped with clients who do not even know what their business processes are, have never documented their processes, is astounding. It is a fundamental component of the way you need to operate your business. If you don't know your business processes, if they're not documented, then how can your staff follow them? And it's quite an amazing thing to see so many businesses that do not address this fundamental function. But if you have, and you have documented those processes and you do know them, then when it comes to AI, you need to review them, re-engineer them, replace, and utilize AI, even in so much of the simplest form, so for robotic process automation around your business processes. There's a whole capability of the AI utilization just in business processes that will give you much better efficiencies and effectiveness in the way you operate on a day-to-day piece. Then there's education and training. We need to educate every employee on why we are embracing AI. They need to know also what's in it for them. That's key to them and their stakeholder engagement with you in your business. And we need to provide technical training for the usage and the adoption of AI technologies. They are not easy to get your head around. And part of helping in doing that is to leverage vendors. Don't just build your own, leverage the expertise of vendors. AI technologies are evolving at a rapid pace. Building it in-house for most business is just not a viable option. So leverage them. And governance. We must ensure we've got all the right usage of our data is undertaken from an ethical point of view, and it must protect personal protective information and identifiable information that you have in your staff, you have in your clients, and you have in your stakeholders. It's key. So let's now have a look at some of the projected values in the AI market. And you'll see a term in here saying the compounded growth rate, and it's really about that return on investment from when you've actually put the investment into a new product set like AI, and from the beginning of the balance to the end of the balance, and assuming that you're reinvesting that as you go along. So if you have a look at a couple of these, and these are from Polis as a market research, a couple of things first. Initially, from a segmentation point of view, the core services are really around software and services, as in consulting services that go with it. The regions, it's global, there's no doubt about that. Different end user industries that are actually adopting AI now, and the different technologies. That's obviously just a short list of some of those that are coming through. What's interesting is the key companies in this space, because the key companies, some of those you're going to recognise, some of those you may not. What's interesting is how many are working in this space and how many new ones will come to the fore over the next 10 years in particular. And then if you look at that 10-year span, have a look at those dollar values between 2023 and 2032. This expectation of a massive revenue forecast within the AI across global markets and the global industries is quite significant. They are big numbers to look at. And if you look at this one, this is more about the percentages, particularly around the engineering market and particularly in the hardware sector, hardware sector, IT and telecom segments as well. So you can see the percentage of increases, which are quite significant in these numbers. Now, will they be realised? Well, they're forecasts, like everything. Things change, but you know, there's a lot of research that goes into coming up with these figures in the first place. So it's worth thinking about. So all those things combine together to get us on how we what to need to do to understand where AI is, how we can use it in our business to get to the next phase of what we produce. And so what is the result of what we've done from the why and the how steps that we undertook to deliver that? Did we create a baseline on our current success, market share, etc., before we commence the AI journey? The amount of businesses that undertake particularly expensive, complex projects to enhance their business, change new product sets, etc., without baselining what they've got in the first place is astounding. If you haven't got a baseline of what you are and where you are and how you operate now, how can you judge quantitatively that when you finish rolling out a new technology or new processes or new systems, that you've actually gained value from doing that and you've got the return on your investment? So baseline before you start. And what services are we delivering now that's shaped by and utilize AI to enhance our business why? And are we tracking the results and working iteratively in a continuous improvement cycle to make sure that it's continually improving? Are we monitoring staff and customer sentiment on our latest AI-enabled services? Is it hitting the mark in the market? Is it the right thing? And have we now embraced and enhanced, I should say, our services and seeing greater market share, profitability, etc.? Is that reflected in our P&L, in our sales forecast, our balance scorecard? And what must we produce to please our particular stakeholders? So stakeholder management is a big thing when you come to roll out any new business change, and AI is a business change. So you've got investors. Our investors are going to want to see and expect a continuation of new sources of growth. They're going to see and want better margins, new innovations. They will be constantly pushing and testing. If they're investing money, they will want to see a return on their investment. Customers. Our customers it's probably, you wouldn't believe, but most customers are going to be in that position where day to day they are using and leveraging AI themselves. And so their expectation would be that you as a business should be doing the same. This will probably take some change over time, but I expect that that's the way it's going to go. And then the employees. So the new generation of employees will leave organizations where humans are doing the work that generative AI could handle. They'll be saying, why should I be doing this work when I could be doing higher value work that can be done by a bot? Makes sense. But then you've got your older employees, they'll have some fear about losing their roles due to AI replacement. And this needs to be balanced through that continuation of education and training. And what about the community? The community at large will be seeking your business as meeting its corporate social responsibilities, that it's operating and making sure that their environmental, social and governance goals are being met. It's going to be a tough gig. You've got to make sure that all of these different stakeholders are getting what they need, are feeling that you as a business is achieving and delivering and putting back into the community. And that's where you get more investment. So leveraging AI and making sure you're deriving that business value from AI all comes from bringing those things together. So to close out this section, I'd just like to go through some predictions that have come from Gartner. And bear with me, I've got some commentary around each one of these. So we will start over on the top left. By 2025, 70% of enterprises will identify the sustainable and ethical use of AI among their top concerns. That's not far away, 2025. 70% of enterprises seems to me to be a very high number. They may be thinking about it, and hopefully they will always be thinking that it should be sustainable and ethical, but 70% is a big number, and I would question that's going to actually happen. 2025, 35% of large organizations will have a chief AI officer who reports to CEO or COO. I don't believe that'll happen. And why? Because my experience within the 2000s or 2010s where we had the CIO, the CDO, and all these people who would report into the CEO or COO and make big changes to businesses quite often didn't happen. Most of them were reporting to a CFO or somebody else. And so the value of bringing those people at that level, either a chief information officer or a chief digital officer, was lost to some extent because they were not enabled thoroughly with working directly with the CEO. I've been in a CIO and CITO role, working directly with a great CEO. You really get the opportunity to make a change if you've got that level of engagement. By 2025, the use of synthetic data will reduce the volume of real data needed for machine learning by 70%. That's a huge number to think about by 2025. My concern there is that synthetic data, if it's not clean, pure, and working off the real data that it's been used in the first time, or it's got biases within it, then there is a high risk of that synthetic data not actually being the right data going out into the world. By 2025, 30% of outbound marketing messages from large organizations will be synthetically generated. I think that one's probably more true. Again, making sure that the data's clean, there's no biases in it. Through 2026, despite all the advancements in AI, the impact on global jobs will be neutral. There'll be not a net decrease or increase. And that's probably true. If you look at the technology changes and before that industrial change that happened in the decades gone past, it takes a few years for these technologies and these changes in the way we work and operate to flow through before you start to see that change in the upswing. Because whilst you've got the early market leaders who are using the technologies, the laggers take quite a long time to catch up. And it's not until you get that whole body of businesses and people working across a new change in technology or industry that you start to see the job roles start to change. Okay, so by 2030, AI could reduce global CO2 emissions by 5 to 15% and consume up to 3.5% world electricity. I've got to say, we're at a crisis point now with our global CO2. So if we're waiting to 2030, we've got a problem. And so one would think we need to be leveraging whatever we can now to make a difference to the world and the environment we live in. But hopefully AI can help in that as well. By 2030, decisions made by AI agents without human oversight will cause 100 billion in losses from asset damage. That is very possible, I believe. And the reason being, as I said, if you haven't got that human discernment and there's some bias or some corrupted data within the agents, the AI agents that are making automated decisions, automated changes and automated controls, then there is a high risk at any time of that blowing out in a negative sense. So it's quite possible that could happen. Watch what that will do to the insurance industries. If you look now with cyber attacks, ransomware and those sort of things, it is getting harder and harder to get an insurance that will cover your business from that perspective because the premiums are so high. By 2033, AI solutions will result in more than 500 million net new human jobs. I find that one a little bit hard to handle. I would say millions. I don't know about 500 million. That's a big, big number. But we've seen that with IT as it came out through the last several decades. It didn't replace jobs. It did replace some jobs, but it actually created and spurned more and more new jobs. And so that's what they're working these calculations on. So hopefully they're right. We'll wait and see. Okay, so that closes out that section. And I'd like to now just move into, and where do I begin? And I've got a question for the audience now. Is implementing AI to enhance business outcomes, market share and profitability an IT project or a business project? Have a think about that. In my years of working in IT and business, this decision to me has been a complete almost nonsense. And I say that because in my personal view, every project is a business project because it affects, impacts and enhances business processes, staff, business costs, assets, and has outcomes based on improving the bottom line through either efficiencies and effectiveness. So therefore, I consider them all business projects. So with that, you need a business strategy and operating plan from the board executive down. It must be clearly communicated. It must be visibly being tracked and monitored to make sure that it's on track. Underneath that, from a technology point of view, you need an IT strategy and a roadmap that clearly aligns to the business as well. And again, this must be aligned in a way as an enabler to achieve the desired business outcomes and operational functions that we're trying to get with implementing AI. And lastly, you need a detailed data strategy. I keep coming back to data and you're going to hear me say it over and over. Data is the AI king. It must be quality controlled, it must be stored securely, it must be and correctly. There must be an overarching governance in place to ensure it's leveraged ethically and legally. So next, I want to just walk through a several number of steps where you could actually start this process off. And again, there's no silver bullet, but there's clear business processes and business project management processes that you should implement anyway for any new project. So let's make sure we've got to define a clear business objectives, identify the specific business challenge or goals that AI can address. These could include improving operational efficiency, enhancing customer engagement, optimizing supply chains, or developing new revenue streams. Assess the data availability and quality. As I've said over and over, AI relies on the data. Got to evaluate the availability of it, the quality, and the relevances, which is a key here, of your data assets, right? The data that you're using has got to be the right data. Data should be clean, accurate, and it should represent the problem that you're trying to solve. That's key. There's no point just having blobs and blobs of data when you're narrowing down to try and implement AI around a specific business problem or objective that you're trying to achieve. Build cross-functional teams. Remember, this is a business project. Form a team comprising of members from various departments across the business, IT, data science, business operations, varying domain experts within your business. This collaboration ensures a holistic approach to AI implementation. And choose the right AI projects. Start with projects that align with your business objectives. Have a clear path to delivering value. Always consider starting small, manageable projects. That way you gain experience and you build on the momentum and you can get some quick wins. Again, the data preparation and exploration. That particular sets of data that you need to identify and use for your business case or specific problem you're trying to solve, you need to prepare that data for AI by cleaning it, pre-processing it, and transforming it into a suitable format for analysis, right? That exploratory and that data analysis helps uncover insights and patterns that you'd be looking for. Select the appropriate AI technologies or techniques. The right techniques based on your business problem. Again, that's that alignment with what you're trying to achieve. This could involve machine learning, could involve deep learning, could involve natural language processes, computer vision, or a combination of any of those. Next thing we want to do is actually model the development and training. So that means about developing and training the AI models using your prepared data. Experiment with different algorithms, parameters, and architecture to achieve the optimal results. Remember, this is a continual cycle of things that you're going to go through in this process. So you've got to validate and test, thoroughly test your AI models, ensure they generalize well to new data that it's creating and produce the accurate results that you want. This step helps identify, mitigate potential biases, and again, errors that may occur if the data is not correct. Integration and deployment. So integrate your AI models then into your existing systems or processes to start to get that value that flip back and return on what your investment is. This may involve collaborating across multiple departments using IT in particular to do deployments, do scalability. So you've got to get that whole integration, but you've actually got to start embedding it into your systems in your business so that you're actually deriving the value back. And then you've got to monitor it and maintain it. So you're continuously monitoring. It's crucial to ensure your AI models perform as expected over time, because regular updates and retraining the model is going to be needed because you're going to generate new data. And also there's going to be changes that are going to hit the business either about in the market or within the business itself. So those conditions will change. So you've got to continually monitor and maintain those models. And then you measure and optimize. Establish key performance indicators that are going to measure the impact of AI on your business objectives. Remember, baseline, so I know that I'm making a change and I'm making an improvement. And then continually analyze your results and optimize the models for better outcomes. And then scale and expand. As you gain confidence and experience, you can scale your AI initiatives and address more complex challenges and explore new opportunities. Again, we then repeat the cycle. We go back through this whole process again and make sure that we're looking for new objectives, to new business objectives or new enhancements or improvements. The product sets that we're delivering to the market, how can we make them better? So that's a lot to digest. I appreciate that. So thanks for sticking with us. I guess to try and distill some of that down and summarize it, I'd like to just distill that down to half a dozen points. And that's really: do a pilot project. Start with a pilot project that addresses a specific pain point or an opportunity or a business goal. This will help you test the waters and demonstrate the potential value of AI to your stakeholders. Make sure you're getting that investment coming back in. Yep, data again, data strategy. So prioritize the data quality and availability, invest in data collection, storage and management practice to ensure you've got a solid foundation for your AI initiatives. And of course, the education and training. You got to upskill the team, hire in experts if you need them to boost that, to get that going quickly, right? In the data sciences, you can build some in-house expertise, but that comes over time, and it's essential over time that you do build some of that expertise into it so that you can make it sustainable for the AI adoption into the whole business. And the technology stack, you got to evaluate and select the appropriate AI tools, platforms, and frameworks that align with your organization's business need and technical capabilities and needs. There is no point taking and putting in technology stacks that are not related to what you're trying to achieve for your business. That would be a waste of money. So sometimes you need help to actually understand what is the right stack I need to use. So that's where those vendor relationships are important. Partner with these guys. Consider partnering with the solution providers as well as consulting firms who've got the expertise and experience so it can accelerate your AI journey, especially if you don't have that in-house expertise and you're trying to build, right? Ethics and governance is critical. Establish the guidelines and protocols for responsible AI usage, including ethical considerations, data privacy, and compliance and regulations. If you're in a global company like BISTEC Global is, you're working across so many different jurisdictions around the world. There are different rules and regulations in every one of those zones and within different countries. You have to be cognizant of those when you're using these technologies. And also work in a bimodal mode. Bimodal was a term that Gartner used many, many years ago, and it really is about working in two different modes. So mode one is your standard, you know your business, you operate in that business, you've defined all the processes and you're optimizing it and you've got it tweaked and you're making it a fit for purpose for a digital business, right? Mode two is actually that exploratory one where you're actually going to be looking to experiment, to solve new problems, optimize areas of uncertainty. And this is the testing of AI. And from a resource point of view and a cost perspective, it's very much the way to go, because bimodal means that you may fail fast if it's not actually delivering what you need, rather than a slow burn, which is going to consume too much of your resources and money. So what are the challenges out of this for executives, right? Some of the main challenges they're going to have is identifying, well, where and how do I use Gen AI and how it fits into existing and then future business. Because when you're working with a business from a board and executive point of view, you're not just working in the now, you're working in the future all the time. You're working short, you're working long. And so you've got to think about, how do I use AI now, and then how do I use it into the future business, and how does my operating models change over time to reflect the usage of the AI, and how do I experiment productively with the Gen AI and get the right use cases again. And you've got to prepare that to make sure that you've got that locked in, you've got the derived value out of it, and then you're continually maturing it, because what's going to happen over the longer term, there's going to be disruptions in the market, and there's going to be other opportunities resulting from advances in the Gen AI as the technology continues to mature. So you've got to be aware of that. And remember that generating business value from AI is an iterative process. We're on a constant cycle here. It requires ongoing learning, adaptation, and a willingness to embrace innovation and change. And lastly, keep in mind that the AI landscape is continually evolving. So staying informed about the latest advancements and trends in AIs can greatly benefit your organization's AI strategy and your business strategy as it goes as well. Okay, so probably leave it there for some questions. I've got a few more things to say. And I guess probably, I'm just not sure if we've got any questions coming through. If the team can let me know. One of the things I wanted to say is that, when we go through the end of this journey, and apologies again, I did say at the beginning, this presentation is what I would call, it's quite dry, it's not spicy, it's not sexy, which is what you may think you're going to get out of Gen AI, okay? Remember that the what is the end result, and that may well be exactly that. It might be interesting, exciting, thought-provoking, insightful. But under the cover, there is lots of data, science, mathematics, software code driving the AI algorithms. So, and my experience of having worked in many industries, many roles with people at all different levels of business and government, is that projects that are undertaken without that proper planning, support, funding, and clear expected outcomes will continue to fail. They'll run over budget, and they'll create finger pointing and other unsavory outcomes. I'll reiterate what I said before. Every project is a business project, and it should be treated that way. Therefore, it needs endorsement from the top down, and successful projects happen because of the people involved, not the technology used, right? Or developed or applied. The technology is enabler. The people and their willingness to participate and work for a collective outcome is what makes success in business projects. And if you want to get success out of AI, you've got to have the right culture, you've got to have that innovative feel within the business, and it's got to be led from the top down. And leadership is not just at the top. Leadership comes across many different areas of the business. So look for those people in your business who are leaders. So they're really good. Can explain the risks of using synthetic data in the AI world, Chaminda. Yeah, as I said earlier, I think there's a risk if that data is got any biases in it or any errors, then there's that risk with that synthetic data. It can be spurning with those inbuilt biases or inbuilt errors, and therefore you're going to have things you're going to put out in the marketplace that are not always correct. I'm probably more concerned about the biases that tend to come through, because you see that already with the early days of bots and other things that are being created. There was always a lot of bots because most of the bots were being created by a similar demographics, white males in certain demographics. So it created a natural bias because of that. So that's something to be aware of. So, okay, so please stay with us. Enjoy listening and learning from our wonderful selection of speakers who have come here and volunteered their time today. I'm very appreciative of them doing that. Thank you for the audience for attending today. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Again, a bit dry, but it's under the covers is a lot of maths. So have a wonderful weekend, and I thank you. And I'll hand you back to our coordinator.
Thank you, Michael. It was indeed a great start to our Hearts Academy Day. So now it's time to put on your thinking caps and get ready for our quiz. I would like to invite Lakshan Fernando, Project Manager at BISTEC Global, to start off the quiz. Lakshan, over to you.
Hi everybody, hope I'm audible.
Yes, Lakshan.
Thank you. So welcome to an exciting mind-engaging quiz session. So it's not going to be a lengthy one. I want all of you to join this session, and here's how it's going to be. So I'm going to share a link in this ask question section. So all you have to do is click on it and join the session. While you're joining, just select a name for you. So I'll wait another couple of minutes until all of you joins. So throughout this quiz, we'll be delving into two topics, from artificial intelligence to value delivery. So remember, guys, it's not just about getting the answer right. It's about enjoying the journey and enjoying the event. So sharpen your mental gears and ready your funny bond. So it's going to be a fun one. And let's dive into the quiz session. So just to add some fun, what I have done is I have included two questions with some fun facts. So there won't be a specific answer for that. So, but for the sake of giving some points to the people who will be selecting my answer, I have picked one answer, but we all can agree on one answer. Let's say like the majority of you will pick one answer. So let's agree on that. So it's just for those fun questions. So let's wait until all the team members join. So I can see there are 32 participants. So let's wait with a little bit more. '41. I can see there are 106 members join in this session. So I need all of you to join this session, this quiz session. 52. 61. I'll wait another minute, guys. Okay, shall we start? Don't forget during the session time, even if you wish to join, you can join. Just use the link. Okay, let's start the quiz. So the first question would be, which fictional character is famous for defeating human champions in chess, and it's often associated with AI? HAL 9000, R2D2, Deep Blue, or Watson? 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2. The correct answer is Deep Blue. I think majority of the members picked the correct answer. Okay, let's move to the second one. Let's see who answered correctly. Okay, Jay is leading. Next question. What is the primary goal of value delivery in business context? Expanding product offerings, maximizing profits, providing value to customers, increasing market share. So the correct answer is providing value to customers. This time also majority of the members picked the correct answer. Let's see who has scored. Jay is still leading. What is the name of the famous AI chatbot created by IBM that won Jeopardy against the human champions? Is it Siri? Is it Alexa? Is it Cortana? Or is it Watson? Correct. The correct answer is Watson. Okay, still holding the place. Next question. This is, what does the term minimum viable product means in value delivery? A product with all possible features included, the most basic version of a product that will provide value to users, a product that is delivered to users without any testing, product that is released to market without any user feedback. Wow. 42 selected the correct answer. Still, Jay is leading. Okay, let's see. Next question. Which AI technique is inspired by the way biological neurons work and is used for tasks like pattern recognition? Is it genetic algorithms? Is it neural networks? Is it speech recognition or reinforcement learning? Yes, the correct answer is neural network. Okay, Gaishan started to lead. The next question. How do AI algorithms stay cool during the summer? This is one of that fun questions I have mentioned. So is it they wear binary shorts, they relax in the cloud, they use algorithmic ice cream, or they have built-in fans? Choose your answer, guys. So 29 selected my answer. They relaxed in the cloud. So we all agree, right? They relax in the cloud. So let's see who scored. Gaishan is still leading, and the Scorpion is catching up. Okay, the next question. What role does innovation play in value delivery? Is it not related to value delivery? Innovation only adds to production costs. Innovation only adds to product. Repeated. Innovation can enhance the value of product or services. Innovation can enhance the value of the products or services. Yes. Gaishan is still holding the place. Next question. How does effective value delivery contribute to customer loyalty? By minimizing communication with customers, by focusing solely on short-term profits, consistently meeting exceeding customer expectations, or by offering discounts on products. Yes, consistently meeting exceeding customer expectations. The next question. Gaishan is still leading and Chandima is catching up. Let's see who's going to be the winner. What do you think? How does an AI spend its vacation? This is the second fun question I mentioned. Exploring virtual landscapes, relaxing in server farm resort, sunbathing in Wi-Fi hotspot, uploading selfies to the cloud. What do you think? The correct answer is exploring virtual landscapes, but most of them, they prefer an AI to spend its vacation relaxing in server farm resort. So let's agree on that. The next question. Let's see who's catching up. Naomi is catching up. Gaishan still holding the place. How can a company ensure consistent value delivery? This is the final question of our session, guys. By continuously improving process and adapting to customer needs, by increasing products per process regularly, by staying static and resisting changes, by focusing solely on short-term goals. The correct answer is by continuously improving process and adapting to customer needs. Let's see who the winner is. So the third place goes to Janak. The second place, Navami. And the winner of our quiz session is Gaishan, scoring 7,571 points. Congratulations, Gaishan, and for the people, all of you guys who participated in this event, and hope you all enjoyed it. So until next time, enjoy the event. Over to you, Netmi.
Congratulations, Ganeshan. Thank you, Lakshan. You really kept the audience going throughout these few minutes. I'm pretty sure the audience would agree too. Next, I would like to invite co-founder of Spectrify AI, co-founder of Hatch, founder MD of Veracity Group, managing director of Digital Reality, and the director of St. Anthony's Group, Jeevan Gnanam, for main session. Jeevan Gnanam is a mentor and a facilitator for entrepreneurial development for youth in Sri Lanka. He's an active member of SLASCOM and helps in many initiatives driven by the Entrepreneurship and Marketing Forum. Jeevan Gnanam is a founder member of the Sri Lanka Angel Network, which targets Sri Lankan entrepreneurs, companies, and help them grow by providing venture capital and mentorship. Today, Jeevan will be talking to us about entrepreneurship in his session. Jeevan, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me and see my screen. So I thought I'd start today's discussion really around purpose-driven entrepreneurship, because I believe in any organization, entrepreneurship is important. And more so, I think, in the world of generative AI. By the way, the background here is a mid-journey representation, or just depiction of Sri Lanka in the next few years. So, interesting fact. I think what we wanted to do was kind of go through my journey as an entrepreneur, talk about changing marketplace, because I believe you as either an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur need to understand the changing marketplace and the mindset change that comes with it, and kind of how to, how I've navigated building products and building services, using the examples that we have in AI/ML through the Veracity Group. So I'll start with really my role model around entrepreneurship is my grandfather. I don't think many of you know him because he's not in the tech field, but he is the true kind of 0 to 1 entrepreneur. Came from India, several almost 90 years ago or 100 years ago, and really started from 0 to 1. Kind of the businesses that we have. So he used to, he came with little or no education, little or no money, started selling scrap iron, built that into a reasonably sized hardware shop. And then in the 1960s and 1970s, when the country was kind of going through a period of nationalization, decided and said, hey, why don't we build the things I've been trading? Why don't we start manufacturing that here in Sri Lanka? And as a result, created what we know today as the St. Anthony's Group. The group itself is about $300 million in turnover and approximately employs about 6,000 to 7,000 people in Sri Lanka. And some of the brands you might know are Tokyo Cement, Rhino, Anton, etc. So on this backdrop, I joined the business. I'm almost embarrassed to say how old I am, but it's almost 16, 17 years ago. And I kind of started looking at, my passion was really around IT, and I'll kind of go through my journey around that. And started to look at, how do I add value to the business as an entrepreneur, and as part of trying to grow the St. Anthony's Group. So my story actually, my main thing that my kind of grandfather kind of instilled me with was these wondrous stories as he was growing his business. He would have these Sunday lunches, if you will, and he would kind of talk about, all the struggles that he was going through, or not even struggles, just like he would talk about business constantly. And I knew that at some point I wanted to be just like this gentleman, and I wanted to come and I really wanted to kind of create and grow businesses, right? And obviously entrepreneurship is that tool that allows me to do that. When I was in university in 2000, I think 2004, 2005, I kind of enrolled in an entrepreneurship competition with Stephen Barrell. Got four other my friends together and said, hey, why don't we try and create a business very naive university kids, but the idea itself was very similar to kind of Uber today. So back in 2005, when there were no apps, I wanted to solve a problem that I saw, which was I had to take the bus to all my different classes, and I said, hey, wouldn't it be nice if I could ride share with someone going the same starting, would pick me up and drop me off if he was within the starting ending location of a 10-mile radius of where he was and where I was. And that's when we formed, with 4 others, we formed Phone to Car, and because we didn't have so-called apps at that time, we used what's called IVR solutions. So you would literally call in to a place and you would say, okay, I need to go from Granger Street to the mall, and if a driver was within the starting ending location of that, we would ride share, or we would match driver and passenger. Early version of Uber, we didn't win the competition, we actually came second, but we were the only business to kind of actually see it through, right? And I think I'll talk a bit about the important lessons there as entrepreneurs and maybe intrapreneurs. What's your big differentiating factor could be to kind of add value to your business. And then we were making money, but in 2006 I returned to Sri Lanka and joined forces with my brother, where we created a Me Too version of Kadai.com. A Me Too version of eBay, which is called Kadai.com, and where we were basically trying to, be a Sri Lankan version of eBay, and we actually failed miserably, and we failed miserably because the market wasn't ready to kind of transact online, even though we had things like cash on delivery. We had various kind of protocols to allow people to transact online. The market wasn't ready, right? And that's something as an entrepreneur. I saw you talk about MVP and stuff like that. Before you build your MVP, you need to make sure kind of the market is ready. But as we were building that, we kind of pivoted that into SaaS. At that time, we were doing primarily BPO work. But also we pivoted the business into doing services for Web 2.0 companies in the States. At that time, Web 2.0 was a big thing. And as we did that, I saw that there was a huge need for IT infrastructure as we were pivoting our little Kadai.com into a services company. I saw, hey, there's a need for IT infrastructure in the country, and we were in midst of a kind of the war, the civil war, etc. And I went to my very conservative board and I said, hey, why don't we kind of build IT infrastructure for IT companies to set up in Sri Lanka? And I got laughed out because they were like, okay, this is Sri Lanka. There is no IT infrastructure in this country, etc., etc. We're in a war, and then I was asked to kind of go find my first customer, like any good entrepreneur should. I got very, very lucky by God's grace. I had the fortune of meeting Mrs. C, who is Virtusa's founder's mother. Chris Kanikratna is the founder of Virtusa, and he was building, started building Virtusa out of his mom's kind of garage. And when I went and had the fortune of Mrs. C and saying, okay, hey, I have this space in, at that time, middle of nowhere, which is in Dematagada. I said, I really want to see if I can build, I really want to see if I can build an IT park. And we started with kind of 10,000, she saw value in that, and she really took a liking to me and said, okay, Jeevan, let's do it. And we started with kind of 10,000 square feet. And honestly, by the grace of God, we were able to kind of grow that over 13, 14 years to 1 million square feet. And that's kind of Orang City, which is Sri Lanka's largest IT park, which some of you might know. So as I was scaling that business, I just wanted to meet other kind of like-minded founders. And I also got called back into my family business, which is Anton, as you might know. But I took active roles in Slascom and the Lankan Angel Network, where we started investing in startups. In Slascom, I was very involved in the Entrepreneurship and Marketing Forum, you know, and just wanted to meet kind of like-minded folks. And I think, you know, that was kind of great exposure. I just wanted to learn as much as possible. For example, in land, you know, I've invested in over 25 companies. Again, just to learn and see what makes a good startup, what makes a good startup founder, right? And as we were growing that, I also launched Sri Lanka's first telco neutral high density data center, which is now there and possibly going to be one of my first exits. We'll see. And then in 2018, I saw the need to kind of look at AI in just our businesses, where we were using a lot of data, and how do you kind of make better data-driven decisions in business. And that's when I started Veracity, which was very focused on building AI and ML models. And also in the same year, I became the Slascom chairman, and I was very focused on kind of, you know, helping look at the next set of products and ideas and beliefs that could possibly grow Sri Lanka, which I really believe was kind of data science and machine learning. So I was very involved in writing the country's AI policy framework, as well as kind of creating, you know, the next set of and Veracity, and then also Hatch, which was a very, very interesting concept that I had in the back of my mind, where the companies I was investing in as a, you know, as an angel investor, weren't really getting the traction that they needed to kind of go to the next level. And I felt, you know, if there was a place, if there was one location where they could all come together and learn from each other, and we could provide funding, we could provide networking, we could provide opportunities, etc., they would grow much faster. And that's really kind of the ethos around Hatch, which we started in 2018. And you know, again, by God's grace, we won Best Co-working Space in the world. We've been awarded Best Incubator in the SAARC region, etc., etc. And so many wondrous things have happened through Hatch, including, I guess, meeting BizTech Global and the wonderful team that I saw kind of grow from 7, I guess, you know, Johan and a few others, to you know, now over more than 75 people. So you know, I really think you know, being here in BizTech, kind of talking to you about my journey, it kind of comes full circle. And then also talk about Spectrify AI, which is kind of my latest venture, where we're focusing on ag value chains, but I'll go a lot more in detail at a later point. And I just thought I'd share my lessons learned, because I think they're relevant from an intrapreneurship perspective as well as an entrepreneurship perspective. And when I started Phone to Car, we were probably not the best in naming companies back then, but that was what we called it. Really, what I learned was finding the right team is such an important skill, and that can be applied towards intrapreneurship as well as entrepreneurship, right? I found that when you go and get your team, don't just look for people who say yes to you or are your close friends, etc., right? I think you need to look at skill sets that complement you or are very different from yours in a particular way. So if you're great in finance, go look for someone who's not good at finance but really good at storytelling, right? Or really good at marketing, or really good at coding. Because I think what makes a good team is the different skills and abilities. And even when you're within an organization, what makes good teams to deliver to your customer would be the different skill sets that your team members bring on board, whether it's project management, whether it's DevOps, etc. I think you need to look at how you build a good team inside the organization. And I quickly spoke about lessons learned in phone to car, and we were the only kind of startup to actually execute, which, by the way, gave us some rewards, because amongst 4 college kids, we were making a few $1,000 because a local cab company wanted to use us, and that was great money for us. But what differentiated us from the rest was really a bias on execution. And I think any entrepreneur and entrepreneur should really look at that and understand that you should have a bias for execution. The next, I think, Kade.com. I think here what I really learned was Me Too ideas. So we were trying to copy eBay in Sri Lanka, and I think that in itself was probably a mistake, because there's no point trying to be a Me Too idea in a smaller market, because your market is limited and you can't grow, and also you're going to be a follower. And I think more important than a Me Too idea was having an understanding of the market before you launch a product. Very basic entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship skill, but unfortunately back then I didn't do it. I didn't check. At that point, the market wasn't ready to accept. There weren't too many credit cards out there. People weren't really transacting online. And what happened several years later, there was the rise of the e-commerce platforms like Takas, MyDeal, Anything.lk, etc. So timing as well is very important as a startup and as an entrepreneur. At Orion City, I think great journey, and really learned how scaling works. Where a very simple idea where we were supporting an industry that was growing very rapidly. At that point, I think it was about $400 million, scaling to about $1.6 billion, and equivalently, it needed the people, it needed the infrastructure, etc., to kind of support the industry. Very simple kind of concept, but fundamentally, I learned how to scale as we grew from 10,000 square feet to 1 million, right? So that was, for me, a great learning. And I just want to say that if you are 30, 35 years and below, I think even in BizTech, I think you should look at how you can learn as much as possible instead of how you can earn. And I really think what set me apart from my peers is how hungry I was to kind of try new things and want to try different aspects in my life, which really led to my growth, right? So I really think if you are at that age in BizTech, you should look at how to put yourselves in new learning opportunities. And I think the leadership of BizTech would definitely help you do that. I think a big lesson I learned was destination versus journey. And I learned that once I reached 1 million square feet at Orion City, I was kind of like, what next? I've already reached this kind of 1 million square feet goal, and I kind of went through an existential crisis of what do I do next? And that really gave birth to Hatch and what I call purpose-driven growth, right? Purpose-driven organizations like Hatch, which have a clear mandate to kind of help startups and help entrepreneurs grow and really take them forward. At Hatch, I also learned about open innovation platforms where we work, and I believe BISTEC is taking part in a program tomorrow where we're working with HEMAs, trying to support, how do we support open innovation models and growth for companies, right? At Veracity, I learned about exponential technology, really forming the thesis around why we started AI and looking at exponential growth at a very early stage. And also looking, we're a global company across 4 or 5 different countries, which was kind of the first time that I've done that, and I learned a lot of things solving that as well. At Spectrify, which I'll go into a bit later, again, I figured, how to solve problems that can scale and can scale, how we can solve problems locally and take them globally, and also, surfing to where the puck is going to be versus where the puck is today. So I thought I'll also start talking about the changing marketplace, and I think the previous speaker spoke a lot about this, but I'll just kind of highlight this. And I really believe businesses today are in a constant change of flux, and there's a rapidly changing marketplace, right? And you can kind of see it through these examples like Kodak, Xerox, BlackBerry Britannica, Blockbuster, that they really failed to kind of identify where markets were going. They really failed to understand what trends were taking place, and then once they did, it was kind of too late, right? So there's constant disruption happening in the marketplace, right? And I think most people have something, understand disruption too late because they don't understand the fundamentals of what disruption is. I'm going to try and explain that to you because I think it's important as you look at marketplaces. What is a disruptive versus sustained innovation? This blue line here is IBM in the 1980s, throughout 2000s, early 2000s, etc. They are the best at what they do, which is the server market in the US and globally. You can never go wrong buying an IBM, and they constantly do what they're supposed to, which is talk to their customers who are large corporates and say, okay, how do I improve the number of bits I can put on a tape drive, and how do I make these batch processing files faster for you, etc. And they're continuing on their journey and doing exactly what every good corporate citizen should do, which is what we call sustained innovation. You then have a really this dark gray line, which is a competitor, which was Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak playing around in their mom's garage, trying to figure out which was very much a hobbyist kind of vocation at that time, trying to figure out how to make a personal PC, right? What changed was really this red line here, and this red line is kind of the aggregated market demand of compute at that period of time. And what happens is if you see the blue line, IBM kind of outcompetes itself in the sense that its features now are providing more functionality than what the aggregate market actually needs. And then at some point, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak actually reach that aggregate market demand, and that's the point of disruption, where IBM suddenly says, okay, we completely missed this customer segment or this new customer segment, and gets disrupted, and by then it's obviously too late, right? And so this happens to a lot of companies, and will continue to happen to a lot of companies because they don't see it, they don't react to it, etc. And guess what? That's an opportunity for entrepreneurship. And I think the world changing now is moving even faster. I don't have to kind of go through these points. This is a fact. We were outsourcing our physical power, now we're outsourcing our judgment, and it's getting better, especially with AI. And what's driving all this really, our AI, when you talk about AI, is Moore's law, which is the number of transistors double, but the price decreases every 2 years, right? So, and we've seen that consistently happen, and the cost of compute come down. And then when you put those two things together, like compute and the flood of data, that's when you have the rise of AI. And I could see that trend happening several years ago, and I said, hey, we really need to look at this, because when you look at traditional writing algorithm, if you look at Microsoft, you need to write 64 million lines of code to take on the Microsoft OS. But guess what? With the proper data and the proper output, and you use machine learning, it writes the code for you. And being a Sri Lankan company, that's very powerful, right? Because you're not going to be able to hire like 1 million coders, but if you're able to figure out the right data and the right output, and you get the machine to write the code for you, you can do a lot more. There are other trends that you kind of look out, and I just want to mention one or two, because I know it's important to understand the changing marketplace. And another one is the long tail, right? Which was actually bought by the internet and the prevalence of the internet. So if you take, for example, back in the day, most people used to buy CDs and listen to CD. They used to go to the CD shop, but guess they used to only get the top, the most popular songs. So you'd get Mariah Carey, you'd get Michael Jackson, etc. But the kind of artists that you, maybe niche artists, never really got showcased. But when iTunes came out and became, you could put 1 million songs in your hand, these artists start getting, and you could show it on iTunes, where you could search for it. You weren't limited by shelf space anymore. Suddenly, the long tail became as important as a market as the head here. So you can see that with things like the internet, with things like compute coming down, etc., it gives rise to new business models that will arise. And I just wanted to showcase another two, which is lighting, for example, has since the beginning of time just gone down. And I think there's a great book called Abundance by Peter Diamandis, who talks about these kind of models where everything is kind of going to zero, and you as an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur need to understand what this means for your business and where it's trending to. So I'll take the Kodak example, and as they've started taking, as pictures started becoming more and more prevalent, what happens is the marginal cost for the next picture becomes close to zero, right? So Kodak, originally when you used to take photos, it used to be very expensive to take the next picture. But as soon as you digitize it, it becomes how do you say, cheap. It becomes very easy to take abundance of pictures, and the total cost of each picture comes down rapidly, which then it moves from scarcity to abundance, which then creates a whole set of new problems. For example, if you're looking at pictures today, the model is, what is expensive is the storage, right? Not really the pictures. So I had a question here, but this is more debate, so I'll leave it for the end. I wanted people to think about is Tesla a disruptive innovation for what I've just spoken about, but maybe we can take that at the end and have a discussion on that going forward. So I'd like you guys to answer that. But as you go forward, you kind of see a lot of new technologies kind of becoming or coming near to zero simultaneously, like genetic editing, 3D printing, biohacking, etc., is all nearing to zero and becoming more abundant. And when you have this, I just showed you AI, which was compute and digitization, but there's a whole bunch of other technologies that are coming about that will change things. On top of that, because of these kind of complex changes happening in technology, there's also there's innovation or disruption happening in the business models, right? So just to give you an example of some business models, you have the freemium model where before the internet that wasn't possible, right? You could serve someone something free with a limited set of features, and then you could upsell them into more or higher end features, right? And that's done through apps, that's done through the internet. You have what's called pay-as-you-use models now with infrastructure as a service, right? AWS, etc., are great examples of pay-as-you-use models where you only serve a customer the customer only pays for what they use, right? But you can trap them in, and you can say, okay, I'll give you the first. You could use a combination of freemium and subscription, which is what AWS does. They trap you with $10,000 or $100,000 free credits, but eventually you pay a premium on the pay-as-you-use model. So there are 31 different models. I'm not going to go through all of them, but this is what we do at Hatch. We kind of tell you and help you kind of understand how to look at these different business models. On top of that, there's also 10 different innovation models in your typical product or service offering that you can look at, right? But I believe all of this really fundamentally requires one thing, which is we as organizations or people in these organizations need to have a mindset change. And that mindset change is really just being humble enough to really start, you got to start thinking exponentially instead of linearly. You got to start thinking of how can I scale, not by growing, okay, if I put another 10 people, I'm going to get this much output, hence, I'm going to double my business. But if I put another 10 people, how can I triple or quadruple my business? And how do I disrupt myself and what's happened earlier? So really, we're big proponents of you can't do this yourself. You need to do this with partners and people of like mind, and that's how you start looking at open innovation. And that's what we do at Hatch. Is how do you work with a firm, and how do you then help them open a new market? How do you help them connect to their current market, or how do you help them disrupt another firm's market, right? And that's how open innovation can be kind of leveraged. Basically through mindset change, and you can start looking at things a lot differently. I think this video works. This is a model we built actually 3 years ago where we were doing automated damage claims. We trained this model on 2 billion images. We had a Norwegian partner, they had the data, we had the skill set, and we built this model from scratch. And we now, we can figure out what part of the car is it, what damage the part of the car it is, and estimate with about 96% accuracy that damage on the car. And this is huge because we found out several years later after looking at, the competitive landscape that we were probably the 3rd best model globally. After companies like Tractable, which has got over $120 million in funding, while we've had probably less than a million or two, which I think then helps us kind of compete at a global scale from leveraging local talent. This is another example of open innovation where, for example, we work with IFS and in a Challenger X program where we were solving pretty cool global problems of understanding climate change and understanding how that climate change affected their basically their clients who wanted to minimize downtime on the utilization of their assets. I'll give another example is Spectrify. We are, I believe, we're solving a very unique Sri Lankan problem, but we can take it globally. And what we're trying to do is increase the, if you look at Sri Lanka, they have 28% of the working population, but only accounts for 8% of the GDP of the country in the agriculture industry. And what we're trying to do is basically enable this population through leveraging technology and by digitizing them. So we believe that by providing opportunities, the best way to fix and grow economic prosperity, which I think is particularly relevant in this time in Sri Lanka's kind of growth trajectory. So if you, this is TAM7 and so on, but we've been able to start in tea, but the technology can do more than tea. We can do cinnamon, we're trying to do coffee, etc. And what we basically do is we help digitize the ag value chain fundamentally by looking at quality. So here you have a bunch of symptomatic problems, but we focus on quality and we say, okay, how do we increase your revenue per kg as an industry so that at the end of the day, we can uplift, the 1 million people's lives in that particular, in the tea industry, for example, that can grow. So we've kind of, for example, if you take that perfect cup of tea, what we found when you go from the plantations, what we call leaf to cup journey, the plantations, the factories and exporters, all of them don't focus on quality. And what we do is using what's called spectral analysis, which is basically we shine light at matter at a particular wavelength, 900 to 1700 nanometers. And from the refraction of light back, we're able to understand and tell you something about the chemical profile of that tea. It's very similar to how you would understand and try and understand the planet or the gases in the planet. And we marry that with using our expertise in computer vision, where you can understand the physical characteristics. So you take both the physical characteristics and the chemical characteristics, and you're able to tell 80% of what's required in tea. I'm not going to go into the team, but we believe this is a disruptive innovation, and we believe this is a strong growth because typically these devices cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, but we've been able to put it into Sri Lankans' hands at just $100 subscription, right? So that's really being disruptive. And we believe ideas like this can be help companies and economies really scale, right? So by using algorithms, by using assets that aren't necessarily in your balance sheet, by using community, crowd, autonomy, experimentation, etc., you're able to take ideas like this and kind of scale and deliver this disruptive innovation, calculated disruptive innovations. And we already have IP for that particular product. I know I'm running out of time, but I just wanted to say, in the context of what we do at Veracity, is really we just take, it's also a philosophy of life, and I tell my team this, is we take data, we kind of try and put it into a structure which gives us really information, but then we try connecting the dots to create knowledge. But at the end of the day, I think what's going to give you the real wisdom is really the unique experiences that you kind of go through, and you gain context, which gives you the perspective to really understand what wisdom is. Right? So yeah. thank you. I would love to take questions and maybe even discuss why Tesla, why would people believe Tesla is a disruptive innovation or not? Sorry, are there any questions? Hello?
That's a Q&A session, guys. So put your questions there if you have any questions regarding presentation.
Sorry, I think I see some questions here. Are these for me?
Yes, Jeevan, the first question that is posted.
Yeah, how do we pitch so we can find funds as an AI startup? So I get this question a lot from startups. I think you need to, okay, so there are different stages of funding of the startup, right? So there's early stage funding from friends, fool, and family. So typically, especially now, I think you would want to look at funding some part of your startup because investors aren't going to just pump money into an idea anymore. Those days are kind of gone. So you need to, with limited data sets or limited information, you need to create at least a prototype or an MVP and be able to have a demanding customer to then be able to raise funds for a particular startup project, right? And then there's pre-seed funding, there's seed funding, there's pre-series A, series A, etc. So there's different stages of a startup, but I think if you're looking at just an idea, I would challenge you to kind of not do an idea because ideas, honestly, as an investor, are cheap. What is more important is to show that you can actually take an idea and deliver something of limited value. I hope that answers your question. Is there anything else? So if there are no other questions, thank you very much.
Jeevan, there's another question in the Q&A section.
Oh, right, okay. Q&A. Yeah, thanks, Jeevan. I think it can be debated. Okay, the question is, I think Tesla is, well, he's answering, I think Tesla is disruptive as it's revolutionized the automated manufacturing process through their giga press, but not as a vehicle company. So I think there's debate on whether, and look, the reason I asked it is there's no right or wrong answer, but more for the sake of the debate. And I guess time will tell if it's a disruptive company. But if you take Tesla, the car itself is not disruptive anymore. I think it's easily copyable, etc. There are other EV players in the market. There's also problems around EV infrastructure that say that maybe Tesla is not. And then there's new technologies coming up like hydrogen, etc., that are becoming prevalent in the market as well. So there are things that say that Tesla might not be as disruptive as people think, but I also I agree with you, Johan, when I say I think it's not the car itself, but possibly the batteries, the manufacturing process, which they've kind of thought from scratch and how to build cars, their gigafactory, which is around the batteries, which basically is bringing the cost of ownership down of a car. And also, if you look at the autonomous driving, if you're able to bring the cost of the car down, the autonomous driving as well becomes very, very interesting, because in the future you might not need to own a car. You can just pay per use it as a platform. But yeah, so absolutely, I believe I'm leaning towards yes, it's disruptive, but there's lots of things that say it might not be.
Jeevan, there's another question.
What is your take on AI and implementation in the public governance aspect? Would it disrupt way businesses is being regulated? So I believe some regulation on AI is necessary. A lot of people, machine learning is quite dangerous because you don't really understand what happens in kind of a neural net, right? Like what are the different layers that are being formed? What's happening there? And I think explainable AI, is kind of a way to if you are deploying a model, especially at country level, etc., you need explainable AI to help understand how or what's happening in that particular machine learning model. And I think governance around that, there's been examples of, for example, there was an interesting one where there was an apartheid hand wash, right? Because the model was trained on white people's hands and not necessarily Asian or Africans. So when an Asian African put their hands underneath the soap dispenser, it didn't dispense soap, and they would have to put a tissue on their hands to kind of get it out. So there are ethical questions around deploying AI models, and it's becoming increasingly prevalent. I believe there's going to be there has to be some kind of governance model on deploying AI. I think it'll help improve the way businesses are deploying it, and to have some kind of structure around it would be helpful. Yeah. Can you kindly brief how AI has affected your vision as an entrepreneur so far? I think it's as I mentioned, we started building models in 2017, 2018, and it's just got better, cheaper, faster, easier to kind of deploy models, and I think it's it really is, if you are looking at how to automate things, how to I think it's also like it's a very difficult market to be in, because there are several big players in them, like Google, Microsoft, etc. And for example, you've seen with generative models, Microsoft kind of taking over ChatGPT. I think there was an interesting point, that the founder of ChatGPT made when actually Rajan Anandan, CEO of Google, asked him, can you deploy, can you build a generative model from a country like, India or Sri Lanka? And he was pretty much, he said, well, the way the game goes is you can try, but I can tell you it's near impossible, right? So that was a very interesting kind of point, but do I believe that a Sri Lankan or an Indian company could, maybe Indian, but in the Sri Lankan context of things, can you actually build a generative model yourself? Highly, highly unlikely, because we don't have the large data sets, etc. We don't have basic things like the government just needs to start with digital ID, for example, and stop sleeping on that. I don't think as a Sri Lankan entrepreneur, we can effect the change of AI at this point in time, but you can build interesting things like I showed you, like Spectrify, where you're solving a local problem and taking it global, right? Which is interesting by itself. All right, I hope that answers your question. Oh, there's another one. Oh, no. I think that's it. Great questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jeevan. I hope that this session benefited all the current entrepreneurs and the future entrepreneurs out there. Up next, we have 4 amazing speakers to do 4 parallel track sessions for us. Please join the breakout rooms in accordance with how you have been assigned during the registration process. You will be able to see the room icon in the ribbon above. Thank you. Once the track sessions are done, please join back to the main session. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. I'm sure that the track sessions must have helped all of you guys to gain knowledge and awareness about your industry. With that, we are on to the final session for today's event. I would like to invite Gayashan Wagachige, Senior Software Engineer at BISTEC Global, and Shantima Ranveera, Architect at BISTEC Global, to start off an interesting discussion about AI, the present, the past, and the future.
Thank you, Nithmi. It's a privilege to be a part of Hearts Academy Day 2023. So we are hosting a technology podcast, BISTEC Technology Podcast, BISTEC Tech Show, and we broadcast a discussion about new technologies and new tools popping up in the technology world each and every month. So the now hot topic is AI. Right? So the world has been moved so far ahead with the AI technologies and tools. Personally, I don't think I will ever work again without ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot. What about you, Chandim?
Definitely. So last year we did not had these tools, right? Like ChatGPT was released in November this last year, right? After that, I think everything went with a storm, I would say, right? Right now we are talking about AI in this year, and I think I remember the last academy day that we did. We were not thinking about AI at that time, right? So these are really a game changer.
Yeah. So we was able to talk about ChatGPT as soon as it was released in our technology podcast. So now there are so many AI tools that for the general use, ChatGPT by OpenAI and Bard by Google, DALI 2, Midjourney, and Microsoft released that Microsoft 365 Copilot. Now, those AI tools certainly speed up the workflow of our day-to-day works. But I wonder how it will affect the quality of the work. What do you think about that, Chandeep?
Definitely. So if we are talking about the quality, I guess it will be increased, I would say, right? So even in day-to-day work that we are doing, right? So let's say we are creating a document, right? So right now, if we are not using AI, so the quality of the words or the sentences or the paragraphs, right? So those will be solely based on our knowledge. But with ChatGPT, right? So we are getting very good content because we are using the AI proper way.
Yeah. So, and if we jump into the developer landscape, AI for the developers, GitHub Copilot, and there are new tools such as Tab9 and Llama 2, recently released by Meta. And yeah, there are so many other open source tools as well as. So now, like my question is, that tools enables new developers to learn about technologies and certainly speed up their workflow. But if when you are working in an enterprise solution, you have to secure your code base. And we have like a really good example about that security. There are some confidential informations in Samsung was leaked by an employee. He was working. I think he is uploading those documents into ChatGPT. So in terms of that security, how we can secure our code base without losing any benefits of these AI tools.
I guess like you were mentioning about Cloud9, right? So they offer tools like private repositories, right, where you can host your own files and having your own VPCs around them, right? So that way your data won't be exposed to the other parties, right? So there are so many things that we are talking with this responsible AI, right? So I think that is coming to the future. And also like I was listening to these speeches from Michael, Jeevan, and with our beloved Niranjan, right? So I think AI can't do everything. So we have to think about that as well. So I was asking Niranjan whether can AI help develop our communication skills, right? So the straight answer was no, right? So the practice is the only way to develop our communication skills. So we have to think about AI as a tool, not as a commodity, right? So we have to make use of it, but we don't want it to use us. That's something we also have to think about.
Yeah. Some other thing that just came into my mind. Some people were like worrying if their jobs will lose by AI. So now 80% of your, I mean, your potential is your soft skills, and 20% of your potential is hard skills. Certainly, that 80%, your soft skills, will not replaced by any kind of AI whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a really good point. And Chandim, one other thing that if we zoom out a little bit and if we try to look at the big picture, big landscape, will these AI technologies disrupt the industry for the recent years in near future?
Definitely it will do, right? So I think even in Michael's talk, he was explaining that in the future, there will be a chief AI innovations officer, right? So we haven't heard about that before. In last year, we were never thinking about that position. Right now, it has been opened up, right? And even in Jeevan's talk, he was talking about this Xerox and BlackBerry, right? How they got disrupted with the latest technologies. So I think this is a massive wave, right? We have to ride that wave.
Yeah, we have to keep with the technology, with the AI, right? Yeah. So finally, I want to mention that we in our YouTube channel, in BISTEC Global YouTube channel, we broadcast our podcast every month. So we talk about new technologies and new tools. These days we are like almost talking about AI because like the content was flooded with AI. So I invite all of you to watch our podcast and like, share, and subscribe, like with your friends. So yeah, Chandim, finally, what are your thoughts?
So I think like next year, there will be a different topic that we have to talk about. It won't be AI. So let's go with that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nitmi. Thank you for the opportunity. And I thank all the members who joined Hearts Academy Day 2023 as well as our podcast. Over to you, Nitmi. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaisha, and thank you, Chandima. We have reached the end of a memorable event. Finally, I would like to thank all the speakers who took their valuable time to participate Hearts Academy Day. I would also like to thank everyone who helped organizing this amazing event. And final thank goes to each and everyone who joined this event. With that, I would like to give you a small notice. We have sent the feedback form link to your mail, so please fill in the feedback and let us know how we did today. So, with that, we hope to conduct more exciting events like this in the future as well. Until that, cheers. Thank you.